Generation World podcast. My name is Michael Faree. It's good to have you back with us today. We've got a really good show. We've got Deon, Bryan from LucidX. Deon's over there in the UK doing some really great things in the auto sales industry for them with regards to lead gen and building out branded campaigns and just doing a lot of cool stuff. Also has experience on the Amazon side too, so I'm curious to talk to him about that as well. Before we bring on Deon, I do want to mention a couple things. We do have Lead Generation World London in October. That's still on track. We've got the agenda being built out now. Please, it's at the lowest price it's going to be for the conference pass, so go ahead and register. Also, when you do that, just know that if things do change, if we have to cancel the event for some reason or have to postpone it, we'll give you the opportunity to get a full refund or get a credit to the postponed event. It's up to you. We'll give you the choice. So feel safe that your registration is guaranteed, and we look forward to having you there and helping you get started again and getting back. It's going to be sort of like a homecoming of sorts for the lead gen industry across Europe and the UK. So we hope to see you there. But without further ado, let's go ahead and bring on Deon and start talking a little shop. All right. Welcome, everyone, to the Lead Generation World podcast. My name is Michael Faree. We've got Deon Bryan from LucidX with us today. He's over there in the UK dealing with a lot of the same stuff we are here in the US and frankly worldwide. Deon, welcome to the show.
Thanks very much. Thanks for inviting me. Great to be here.
Yeah, well, and you mentioned you were sort of a little under the weather, and I appreciate you still joining the conversation, and hopefully you'll get well soon. But you were sort of mentioning, just so much more happening now that so many people are working from home. You sort of think, there's an expectation that people aren't being productive. But at the end of the day, I mean, we're all still working now. We're multitasking with kids and school and all this sort of stuff going on. Is that sort of what you're dealing with today?
Yeah, exactly that. I mean, I'm used to working from home anyway as well. So I've got a separate office to the house. So the day-to-day running isn't that much different because I barely left the house either as well because it's with working. But there is that added, obviously, challenge with we've got 3 children running around as well that seems to when I work, obviously, well, most people, when they get into a flow and you just get in there and then a child will come in and you've got to start all over again, so the days are even longer than what they normally would be. But it's one of those things. It's not going to last forever. We just have to get through it and come out the other side.
Yeah, definitely. So from your point of view, well, first of all, tell me a little bit about LucidX, and then actually, hold on. Let me start. Before we dive into LucidX, which I want to know more about, I was looking through your LinkedIn profile, and you tell me a little bit about your background. I mean, you were in the military, right?
Yes, yeah. So from 16, I was brought up in a little village in Wiltshire, and I always, from an early age, I thought I wanted to get out and see the big wide world. And at that time, I saw the army being the best way out. I mean, my dad was in the army as well, and my stepdad was in the army, and been on the edge of an army training base as well. So it kind of was inevitable. So I joined the REME pretty much straight from school as an aircraft technician. Joined for 10 years. Enjoyed the time for most of it, but probably after about 7 or 8 years, when I met my now wife, I realised that it's not going to offer me the freedom that I wanted. Because we all, particularly myself, with the entrepreneurial spirit I've got, that wanted that time freedom. At the time, I thought it was more the money side of things, but now as I get older, time was our most valuable asset, and then that's when I realised that. I'm not going to get that freedom from being in the army for the rest of my life and moving around. So,
well, one thing I saw that seemed to be a trend, obviously, the things that you did in the military were around testing products or technologies, right?
Well, in the army itself, I was an aircraft technician, so working on airframes and engines. So yeah, the testing was certainly part of that. I was on the mechanical side, so airframes and engines. But once I left there, I retrained into IT. I went into test analyst in the IT world, and had various roles around software-based IT as well in that time. So I've always been interested in gadgets and on computers and what have you. And as soon as I left the army, that's when I started looking at online marketing opportunities as well. So for the last, yeah, scary to say, I think since I left, it was 19 years ago. So I've been involved with internet marketing in various forms or not. I've probably bought a lot of courses that weren't any use, and spent a lot of money on the so-called get-rich schemes. But it's one of those things you learn from it, and that's the key thing.
Well, you sort of did what a lot of people do, which is, you were working. It looks like, correct me if I'm wrong, but you were working for a couple different companies and then doing some online marketing sort of on the side as well. Is that right?
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. So how did you? So what were you doing? You were getting involved in SEO and online mobile marketing and all that sort of stuff. What were you doing sort of on the side to improve what your knowledge and your expertise in online marketing?
It was just basically just educating myself on absorbing all sorts of different courses. As I say, most of them were just courses that people put out by people that didn't actually know what they're talking about. And it took me some time to realize that there are some people out there that walk the walk. And I'll filter down as people now. And there's only a very few people now that I follow that I know. They've tested the stuff they're talking about. They know what they're talking about. And they haven't just appeared out of nowhere to sell a course just because it's trending right now. But yeah, always been into the personal development, reading books on all the Richard Branson, all those type of things.
Sure.
And living about business prospects and from that side of things as well. I enjoy learning.
You bring up an interesting point too, because especially in online, the digital world, there's always these, so-called gurus or whatever it is that are experts in, one thing or another. And it is sort of hard to sift through all the BS and, find people that are actually knowledgeable and know what they're talking about.
Exactly. Yeah.
So tell me a little bit about how, LucidX and what you're doing with the company now, and what products and services you're offering.
Yeah, well, we transitioned over those years. We set up LucidX 10 years ago now. And it was more back then. It was more around local business marketing, so reputation marketing, Google My Business reviews, and what have you. But then I discovered Amazon, and that's when I really become really quite successful with the courses I actually bought. That actually was a good course and helped me. But obviously, it's a lot easier then as well, because that was really the beginning phase of the explosion of Amazon that we see today. So from there, from doing the selling, that was my focus for, as I say, I still had a full-time job going on back then as well. And because of the growth of Amazon for about 3 years ago, people were asking me, because they knew my history, that they were getting into Amazon themselves. They were asking me for advice on certain aspects. And I thought then, well, start to think, maybe I can be of more value to people to help them, avoid some of the mistakes that I'd made building that business. So then I went into the consulting side, and very recently now we've progressed. Just to fill in a few gaps, we've offered other types of services as well, so Facebook marketing and advertising and things. But I just wanted to, what I just found was I wanted to simplify what our offer was, and around lead generation. And at the end of the day, because when we doing this Facebook marketing, the social media marketing, that type of thing, at the end of the day, what most businesses want is they just want a lead that they can call up. They don't really care about how that lead has come about. Don't care what posts. Obviously it's not detrimental to the company, but they don't really care about that side of things. They just want a quality lead dropped into the lap that they can then get on the phone to and close. So now we've changed our model completely to a pay-per-lead model. So we take care of all the setup of any ad campaigns, do the funnel, etc. And we just then deliver them a lead, which they pay us for each individual lead. And that's all they pay for. There's nothing else. There's no contract or anything like that.
Yeah.
So again, we don't tie people in, which I think is it's a good thing, because people have been burnt. Hear too many stories about people being burnt by being tied into contracts and not having anything delivered for it.
Yep. Is
Um,
what are they branded campaigns, or so? Tell me a little bit of maybe an example of a campaign that you're running now from a lead gen perspective. Is what industry is it in, and sort of like I said, is it a branded form that you're driving to their their brand, or is it yours?
yeah,
Or
it can be either or. It depends on the client. So an example of if we were to brand our own product, when we're looking at just before this all the coronavirus thing kicked off, we're looking at creating a brand for car dealerships and selling leads for car dealers, and that would involve having a front page, and we'd put them through a quiz basically. So we segregate the list via this quiz, asking things about what sort of credit they have and that sort of thing, and then and this then obviously segregates the list, and then at the back end, depending on where they fit, the questions that they ask have a personalized results page. Depends on which car dealership or credit or car finance company we direct those leads to.
yep,
So that's one thing we can do. We set up our own brand, and we just filter out the leads individually, or if we work on a one-to-one basis, pretty much the same process. Obviously, we still segregate the list. We still go for that quiz process, where we just put their branding on the client's branding. Obviously, get their approval on everything that goes beforehand on the ads and everything, and then deliver that lead to them into their CRM straight away for them to follow up with.
So what amid all this coronavirus, these issues, um, what are you seeing out there with regards to the the marketplaces? Have things sort of come to a halt, or are people really trying their best to move forward as business as usual?
Yeah, I mean, most people, they definitely slow down, obviously. Um, I understand why that is, because I made a conscious decision that about 10 years or so ago not to watch so much news,
Yeah.
because you spend that time and it's just all bad news. There's very rarely it's good news, and we've all got issues going on in our head anyway, with other things that we need to worry about just within ourselves, in our family. Then you switch on the news, you listen to things that happen on the other side of the world that can get you even more down. So, and I can see why people are thinking the sky is falling at the moment. But there is, I always look to take a positive from it. I mean, it's a good time now we've got the gift of time now, that perhaps to work on a business that we wanted to do for months before, but we always get tied up, as we're always firefighting. We're on our own business. We don't have the time to sit back and say, well, what can I improve within my business to improve the processes once we get out of this? Because we are going to come out of it. It's not going to be forever, despite what they're saying on the news all the time. And it's a good time. And if you're going to pull back, and your competitors don't, you're going to leave yourself in a position where you're just going to be fighting to catch up. And that's unfortunately when the businesses are going to disappear, if you just put your head in the sand and just shut up shop, basically.
Yeah. Well, it's interesting. You mentioned about negativity. I was just listening to another podcast yesterday, and I can't remember what it was, but they were talking. The guest was talking about the power of negativity and positivity and what you say, and and hear and all this sort of stuff, but more so what you say. That anything you say negative has a 7-time multiplier of it actually, its power. So when you say
Yeah,
things negative, the power of that becomes, extremely strong,
yeah,
and can affect your daily life and what your outcomes and what you're looking and trying to do. So,
sure.
thinking and saying negative things are quite horrible for what your, maybe what your goals really are.
Yeah. Well, you're just self-fulfilling, isn't it? You'll make decisions. If you think, oh, my business is going to go to pot, then the decisions you're going to make are going to send it in that direction. Whereas you think, no, hang on, no, let's be positive about this and see what we can fix. And it's an opportunity to become better at the end of the day. None of us are perfect. There's always room for improvement somewhere. So try and take this time to look at that and don't give up. Don't give up the fight, basically.
Yeah. So with consumers being sort of in an area where they're not sure if they're going to get paid and if they're going to be able, and they're sort of saving money potentially, what do you think companies and brands should be doing to stay out in front of those companies and continue to do business?
Yeah, well, it's still staying in front of you. It's producing content, that maybe, depending on your business, that you physically really you cannot sell anything right now, because you have to have that face-to-face content. But for example, using the car industry, because they've obviously closed, pretty much stopped. But with regards to them, the people still will want cars. They might not be in a position to buy now. They're not on the lower end of the funnel now, but for example, they're still going to need a car when they come out of it. They might have a child coming, or they want an electric car, whatever. So we need to be producing content now, I think, to educate people on when this is all over. If you need more boot space, or this is what a more fuel efficient car, then this is what this type of thing you should be looking at. And just staying in front of the people, staying in front of the top of mind. So when they are in position and it's all over, the first person they think of to come and see is your dealership rather than anybody else. And just give them, and then also I think it's good to just give positive news. I mean, because there is some positive news stories out there. So I think it's worth the effort of producing content around that, and doing things like a short video, or because people are spending more time on Facebook as well, right? Anyway, yeah. So there's a good opportunity there just to change the targeting and the message of the market, change your message now, in view of when it's all over, that you can continue to thrive then.
Yeah. Yeah, it's good advice. Let's pretend like this isn't happening for a moment, and just kind of go back to talking a little bit about auto dealerships and how they work leads. I'm really kind of curious to know how well you think auto dealers are sort of intaking and handling leads and able to close them. And the reason why I ask is because here, sometimes auto dealerships don't have the best process in place to be able to not only, pick up the phone as soon as they get a lead or somebody interested in a car, but more so following up with it for, a given amount of time, because, maybe the person's shopping and maybe they're not ready to buy today, but maybe in a week or two, and they're, doing their thing, and there's a lack of follow-up. But is that something similar that you guys see there with dealerships, or are they pretty good at working leads?
Yeah, I think it's pretty similar. I mean, I think it's fairly across the board as well, that again, this comes down to having good processes in place, and having a CRM system or an automated follow-up, and using text messaging. And so there's various different things that are so a lot of dealers here are quite old school as well. Haven't made that transition yet. And I get it, because people don't like change, but there are so many different things that can make the process so much easier and automate a lot of this stuff. But it's just, and that's partly why I went for the pay-per lead thing, and rather than just trying to explain it to people that you need to be doing this, just there's everything's done, it's all warmed up, it's ready to go. Yeah. All you need to do is call them up. But yeah, it's the same here. There's definitely some opportunities to modernize the processes, and I think here as well, I mean, I think there should be more of a shift, I think, towards like the Amazon type process, and online selling, and having cars. You literally don't have to leave the house. I think there's a big opportunity there for dealers to embrace that type of thing, that someone could be sat at home, they've all the finance done, everything all online. I think there's one company here I can't think of now that just literally launched their website, which is doing a similar thing, and they deliver the car to you. You do like a 7-day money back guarantee. And if you're honest, obviously, with the way that you describe the car and whatever, there's no reason why someone would give that back. And I think there's a huge opportunity there, particularly because for people that are intimidated about going to car dealerships, particularly the main ones, even I feel it myself. And I think women more so as well. The stats suggest women more so. So make that easier for them. Women, they're more likely to look at reviews. So make sure your reviews are all good on Google My Business. I mean, I was doing reputation marketing, as I say, literally 9 or 10 years ago, and it still amazes me that people don't embrace the fact that they need to keep their reviews up. And we all look at Amazon and eBay, and oh yeah, do you look at those? Yeah, but what about your reviews? Oh yeah, we don't worry about it. We just work off referrals or whatever. But it's crazy.
Yeah,
really
that is crazy. I was talking to a guy the other day from on a B2B side with SaaS platforms. And, he was talking about how important reviews are for that as well. But I mean, in today's world, like you were kind of alluding to Amazon or we have a thing called Yelp here. I know it's not there in the UK, but it's like a
Yeah, we got that as well.
yeah, TripAdvisor or something like
Yeah.
that, where you can, find restaurants and all these things that have all the different reviews. It's become so important for every type of company to have a conscious effort to look at the reviews, get reviews, ask their, clients to write reviews and all this sort of stuff, because it does go a long ways when you are evaluating a dealership or whatever it is you want to work with. If there's reviews, hundreds of reviews saying how great they are, I mean, listen,
Yeah.
that's good stuff. And if somebody else has only 5 or 6, I mean, it's pretty obvious you're just going to go with the guy that has more experience. And that may not necessarily be the case. That's just because this guy didn't care about reviews.
Yeah. So it's a no-brainer. And even if even they're just looking, they could be getting a referral from someone that says, "Yeah, go to see this person. They do a great deal." So, but they just do a search for you on Google and just to find out where you are, and they'll see your reviews. And if you've got bad reviews, then that's enough. Well, I know my friend recommended it, but no, this company's got way better reviews than them. So, and I think just making people aware of that, I think they're critical. Yeah, like you say, it's a big differentiator.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see how the buying process for cars does change. Tesla now, you just basically order your car online and they tell you when it's ready, and you can go pick it up and here they have them. I'm sure it's the same, but you go to a shopping center or something like that, or a mall, or a bunch of stores, and they have a store with a couple cars in there. You just sit and then you can maybe test drive one, but it's very different process. There's no the people there aren't trying to sell you. They're not trying to go, what is it going to take to get you in this car today, type of thing. They're just showing you the features, and if you like it, you go home, go online, and you order whatever car you want. And really simple, easy process that's not intimidating, that's not scary, that you don't think you're going to be taken advantage of, because that's the thing, right? We always kind of feel like, is this guy, taking advantage of me and my need for a car or whatever it is. But so it'll be interesting to see how that continues to evolve. I'm curious about learning a little bit about Amazon, and asking you some really basic questions about it, because I don't know. So obviously there's a lot of sellers on Amazon, not just Amazon itself with its warehouse selling products, right? I mean, there's companies selling all types of things through Amazon, right?
Yeah.
So what is it, do they have their own pages? How does it sort of, give me the lowdown process of being a lead or a seller of whatever product it is on Amazon? How's that work?
Well, there's two methods of selling. Is you either sell as FBA, where you get Amazon themselves to do the fulfillment for you. So you send in your stock into Amazon, into their fulfillment house. They'll deliver it and take care of all the customer care and what have you, and obviously charge a fee for that. Or you can do what's called FBM, so fulfillment by merchant. So you still list your product on Amazon as if it's just if they were doing it, but you just have your own warehouse, or if you're smaller, you deliver it from home using your own fulfillment process. So they're just the main two differences. Or if you have a product that Amazon likes the look of, they will then come to you and ask them to sell, and they'll ask you to buy the product, to sell the product directly to Amazon. So with that, you just sell X amount, thousands or whatever it is to Amazon. They'll sell it through them, and they'll just give you whatever it's cost per thousand. But with that, you basically you lose control of your listing. And what you can do with it, the pricing, what have you. But it works, depending on what your situation is, what works best for you. I've only ever dealt with really in FBA, because I find that process much simpler. You just send it to them, they deal with all the everything, and effectively how much you're going to get charged by them. And that's what I've mainly been dealing with. But there is a shift now, because they're not taking in products via FBA, because if it's not essential, then sellers are looking to certainly in the short term to go FBM, so they can sell some stock while they've got these restrictions going on at the moment.
Interesting. I had a friend that had a company, and he just recently sold it, and I don't remember the name of it, but pretty good price. But what they did was they helped uh, Amazon, and I'm probably not going to articulate it correctly, but they helped Amazon stores or companies on Amazon optimize their
Yeah.
process and their store and all this sort of stuff, and be, sell more items.
Yeah.
Tell me, how does one optimize their store and listing? Is it based on reviews? Like, how's that work?
Yeah, well, I always work on the first place to look. Um, if you've already got a product on there already, is your keywords, making sure you're being ranked for the main keywords that obviously you want to rank for. You've got your main keywords and your longer tail keywords.
And that's just
So
in the description of the product or the store, or what like?
On the listing itself, yeah. So on the listing, you've got the title. So where you want to put Amazon's got their algorithm. It's called the A9 algorithm, similar to what Google has with their algorithm. And the first place it looks for keywords is in the title. So you want to make sure that the main keyword you're going for is in the title, or keywords are in the title. And then the next most important place is in the bullet points. So I always aim to have 10 major keywords, 10 minor keywords. So make sure you got the major ones in your title and your bullets, and any of the minor keywords then go into your description, because that is less weight then for the A9 algorithm. So that's one area to look at. And then it's probably after that is your images. It's very easy to, if you look at your competition, to see what their images are like. Have they got good, high quality images? Do they include lifestyle pictures? Because a lot of listings you look at will just have the image with the front, side, and back. It doesn't really tell the story of how you're going to use that product. So you want add some lifestyle images and show it in use, and highlight the features and the benefits within that image as well, in that listing as well.
Yep.
But there's lots of different ways, but that's just a quick
so
overview.
Yeah, I mean, that sounds pretty straightforward for the most part. Content optimization and the pictures. Is there anything deeper than that you get into with ensuring that a listing is getting as much attention as possible?
It's not really, no, because that's the areas that normally are neglected. It's looking, I mean, as part of what selecting a product in the first place, I make sure the demand's there, but it's also doing your competitive analysis as well, and looking at if you're going to create a product, you need to make, I think, back in when I first started, you could literally buy anything from Alibaba, put your own label on it, and you would sell it. But now, if you've got a Me Too product, you're not going to last long. So you need to make that differentiation, or at least make some minor tweak to your product as well. I think it is critical now. Look at what other sellers are doing. Look at their reviews. Look at what people are complaining about. What's not right about their product, and then look to make that improvement to your product, which you can then put into your listing. That our product will last longer because it's made from this material as opposed to this material.
Yep.
Which is why you should buy our product instead of yours. And making sure that you protect your listing as well, because there's something called a brand registry, so because anyone can sell. If you don't have brand registry, anyone can come onto your listing and sell a counterfeit product or a similar product. So you want to make sure that you make those. So I certainly suggest now to make product improvements so you're unique in there, so you can't get hijacked, is the term, by other sellers selling counterfeit products, whatever, and destroying your listing that way.
Yeah.
And I think that's what people. I think that's been neglected now. Again, coming back to the review thing, when you're looking to select a product, if there's a similar product there that's got 1,000 reviews, you're not going to be able to, no matter what ranking process you go through. Once you get to that top page, whatever means possible. I mean, there's grey, white, and grey hats and whatever methods. You're not going to stay there, because there's this product. If it's got 1,000 reviews, you've got 5 or 10. Again, you're just going to disappear, and it's not making. you do your research first. And I've seen, I say, going back to courses now, they're saying, no, you just do this product and you'll be fine. But that's not the case anymore. And I'm sure it's costing people a lot of money.
Yeah. Are there so there's really not the opportunities like there used to be for an individual to, find some products and sell it on Amazon if they weren't already, a store or a manufacturer or something to that effect, a reseller. There's not quite as many opportunities as that, or just it's a lot harder to make that work.
Yeah, I think it's reduced because if there's a low barrier entry from you doing it, that means everyone can do it.
Yeah.
And you want to, I always try and you want to put as many blocks in between, so you're in blue ocean rather than in the red ocean.
Yeah. So let's jump back over to the lead gen side with auto dealerships. I'm kind of curious to know, if you have any suggestions for auto dealers that are looking for partners like yourself. What should they be like looking for to find a legitimate partner for leads?
I guess it's staying away from the people that are suggesting a silver bullet. Because there are those people out there that you just do this and it'll be fine type thing. I think it's a lot about relationships. And I think if you sit down with somebody and have a conversation and they're asking the right questions about what problems that you've got and how they can help solve it, I think that's the main thing to think about. Not them coming in with, right, this is what we got, this is what's going to fix your solution, and then you're like, well, I didn't really want that. That's not what I need right now. So I think it's having an open conversation with them, and I mean that's certainly what we do is finding out what problem they got, and if we can help, obviously we will. But if I can't, I'll be open and honest about that and suggest, well, you don't need me to help you with this. You need to go and see a business coach or whatever that situation might be. Because I want to keep my reputation as well, and in the past, we've all had, I suspect, clients that aren't the best clients, and that's because we haven't made the right decisions in the first place, and I want to get away from that and not put myself in, because it's no good for anybody to be in that situation. You want to make sure that. When you make suggestions, that you want to have the trust in the business owner themselves, they're actually going to implement it. If they're going to fight back and say, well, why are you asking me for my help? So you need to be sure you have to have a good relationship and trust that person. And it's a two-way thing as well. It's not just one way.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's important to have a good client that values the partnership, and that's able to work with you to optimize and help you optimize your specialty, which is the marketing side of it. And then for them to be able to take feedback and so that they can optimize their side of it, which is the sales side of it. I'm kind of curious what it's like from a driving traffic and just the overall lead gen industry for auto insurance. One of the things that we, hear, there's problems across all industries when it comes to driving traffic or leads is that there's a certain level of fraud out there. And, that drives lead quality down, whether that's bots or whether that's, I don't know, just fake data or bad data, whatever it is. What's sort of the landscape there for lead quality, and as it relates to, fraudulent activity out in the marketplace? Like what's that like? Is there not a huge issue with that? Is it minor? Is it small? What's it like, if any?
No, I mean, I'm certainly not aware of any sort of, maybe I'm just misunderstanding. When you say fraud, what's
so here, I'll give you an example. So here, I don't know, there's a whole process of a lead gen sort of funnel where you'll have maybe, affiliate marketers that are maybe driving traffic. They're getting paid on an action to drive it to a website. That traffic is coming from all different types of sources. They get paid for every lead that's filled out or every click or whatever it may be. And sometimes they're incentivized, obviously, for making an action happen. They're not really incentivized if that lead closes or something happens to it down the road.
Yeah.
So there's some bad, industries that, or bad companies that will send in fake information, people or data that's not necessarily interested in the product, but they'll have it go through. They'll use technology or bots
Mhm.
to make it look like somebody actually filled out the form. But when you call it, the phone doesn't ring, or they don't pick up, or there's an issue. And there's a certain percentage that they tend to work under that sort of flies under the radar a little bit, but it increases their revenue. It's sort of an issue. And so there are companies out, here. Um, One's called Anura, one's called Fraud Logic, one's called CPA Detective or Impact, and they have fraud detection, service that you can put on your webpage to, detect, if there's IP, visits from IPs that are known fraud sources or something like that. So I was
Right.
just sort of curious what, here there it's an issue. What if it, how much of an issue it was there?
Within my space, it's not personally an issue a big issue that I've come across.
Yeah.
I mean, with our lead gen, we do put steps in place to verify emails and phone numbers, example, before we would then pass that lead through. But nothing. It doesn't sound like we've got anything as bad as a scale that you mentioned there. Personally, not to say
Yeah,
that
no,
one here.
that makes sense. And I kind of thought that would probably be the case, especially with auto purchases. I mean, listen, it's if someone's filling out a form and they want to, I would think that quickly you're going to realize from the auto dealer telling you, hey, these people aren't interested in that, Toyota or whatever. And you're going to hear that probably pretty quickly. I
Yeah.
think it probably happens more in other industries or verticals where, bad quality leads can sort of fall under the radar a little bit more. But
Yeah.
yeah,
That's why we put them through any prospects through this quiz survey, because we don't ask them for any details until the end. So they make these series of micro commitments, giving us their data. Can be 10, 12 questions. So by the time they've got to the end, they have to be quite committed to at least receiving a call. They're much further down the line than they would be if it was just send them to the page and just enter your details here, and then there's no way of knowing if they've got a real interest at all.
yeah.
So we make those put in place those micro commitments to get them to be a more qualified lead at the end of it.
Before we wrap up, are there any other industries you're working in, or are you able to sort of work across multiple industries, or is auto purchase sort of your main focus?
Yeah, well, we started this side just before this coronavirus kicked off. So
Right.
we are diversifying now, and we are looking, obviously, for the growth industries right now. That because at the end of the day, the money still needs to flow between businesses. I find it quite bizarre that some people are getting knocked for trying to build their business, if it's a life insurance or stuff like that. I mean, because these are still products that people need. If it takes something like this to make people more aware of it, then I don't see a problem with that, because at the end of the day, if this doesn't get us, then something will. So those type of products are still required. So we're looking for things like online learning is another thing we're looking at as well, because a lot of people are taking advantage of that. So there's various industries we can adapt to
Yeah.
whichever provider. Once we sit down with the client, understand what their ideal customer is, and then we can look to work with that and go away and target those people, because we look to get really niche down and really build up the perfect avatar, and not just go this is good for everybody, which is that's where it costs a lot of money in advertising if you don't niche down in the first place.
Yeah. So I have heard that online learning and the education is sort of growing as a lead gen sort of vertical or industry in the UK. What other growth industries do you think would be included? You mentioned the top growth. Insurance, online learning. What else?
Yeah, obviously, because things like where people are like grants, government grants as well. Aside from the ones that have come out now to help with this current crisis, it's things like that. People not aware. I mean, over here we've got a grant called a research and development grant for any business that they can get, but most people don't know about it. I only heard about it recently. but you can get up to £25,000 or claim back 25,000 if you've got a research and development aspect to your business. If you're paying out for that, you can get a grant from that, which is obviously any way that these businesses can get money to help them get through this is can only be a good thing, obviously. And this goes beyond, obviously, once this is all over as well. Because small businesses do struggle. So any help we can get and make people aware of it is great.
Yeah, no, that's a lot of money too. That's really great. So if someone wants to reach out to you, Deon, how can they get a hold of you?
Via my website. So our website's LucidX, LUCIDX leads.co.uk. Or to get me on LinkedIn. I don't know if you can put a post, a link, or whatever, and it's probably a good place as well. So yeah,
perfect.
Either way.
Email? You mind? It's okay if we share your email as well.
Sure. Yeah, it's Deon. So DEON @lucidix.co.uk as well.
Perfect. Yeah, I'll put that up on the screen for you. Well, Deon, it was a pleasure speaking with you. I'd love to do it again sometime in the future. Hopefully, we get through all this this coronavirus stuff and we get back to work on stronger footing. And hopefully we'll see a lead generation world in London, assuming that all happens in October. But it was a pleasure, and hopefully you start feeling better as well.
Yeah, thanks very much. It's been great.
Thanks, Deon.
Take care. Cheers.